And welcome to Sugar Talk, brought to you by Diabetes and Endocrinology Consultants and online at beachdoctor.com. And Dr. Lucas is in the studio. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
I'm good.
We're going to talk about something a little different today.
Talk about thyroid.
Yes, and what does that have to do with this?
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But the thyroid is an organ in your neck. I brought a little model here. You can see the model.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you see the model?
Hold it
to the microphone.
Hold it up to the
Hold
microphone.
microphone.
There you go.
Okay, so the thyroid is pretty little. And it fits like right in your neck. If you're, if you know where your cartilage is for your voice box, it's right below that. It's butterfly shaped or U-shaped. It has two lobes. The lobes are about an inch, a little bit over an inch long, and they're connected by a little bridge called the isthmus. And the thyroid is very important. It's the largest endocrine organ in the body, and it regulates how fast everything goes. So it regulates your metabolic rate. And if you have a low thyroid, you're more sluggish. You have a high thyroid, you're more speedy. But that has consequences. Both of those have consequences. So I think next time we'll probably talk about diseases of the thyroid, but today we're just going to talk about the thyroid itself.
When you say sluggish or speedy, is that all metabolic rate?
Yes, it regulates your metabolic rate. So there's a lot of misconceptions about metabolic rate in general. A lot. People think, give me thyroid hormone, I'll lose weight. Well, it makes you hungry too, so there's no good answer to that. So if you take thyroid hormone just to lose weight, it doesn't work. Your body downregulates its own thyroid, and then you're stuck with extra thyroid hormone. You don't really convert it into the active form. The thyroid makes T4 and T3, and those are two thyroid hormones. Usually it makes more T4, and the liver converts it into T3, and T3 is the active form that does everything. So it helps in protein synthesis for every cell. So every cell that does anything is regulated by the thyroid. So it affects everything in your body. It affects your hair growth and your skin and how fast everything goes in your body.
Okay, so we often look at, even remember growing up, if somebody was particularly large, we thought they might have a thyroid problem.
Yeah, a lot of people got put on thyroid hormone for that reason, and that's usually not the reason. In fact, it's very odd to have somebody that's severely obese have a thyroid condition causing it, being the total cause of it. You do tend to gain weight if your metabolic rate is slow, for sure, but not, to 300 or 400 pounds. That's usually not what the thyroid does. So the thyroid may be responsible for 10 or 20 pounds. A lot of it's fluid weight, because if the thyroid's not working, the kidney's not working properly, and the kidney can't get rid of fluids, so it holds on to fluids, holds on to salt. You tend to be puffy. Your muscles tend to be puffy and swollen, and they hurt and cramp too if your thyroid is low. So thyroid affects everything in your body. Your digestive system is slowed down, everything's slower.
So thyroid rates when they're normal, is there a number associated with that?
Well, what you go by is the thyroid doesn't work on its own. It's regulated by a pituitary hormone. Pituitary we'll talk about later, but pituitary is a small gland that dangles down from your brain, and it controls all your hormones. So the pituitary sends out TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, original name, and it tells the thyroid to work. So if your pituitary's been damaged, then you won't get the signal to tell your thyroid to work, and it won't know what to do. It just sits there and not does anything. And if your thyroid is overactive on its own, then it suppresses that hormone that controls it, so you have a low TSH. So the best test of thyroid problem is a TSH, because it's the most sensitive indicator. So if your thyroid doesn't work, your TSH goes up, and people can't figure that out usually because it's the opposite of what you think. But the TSH is the signal that controls the thyroid.
Right.
So it's trying to beat on the thyroid to work, so it has to go up. And if the thyroid's working too hard, the TSH gets low because it doesn't have to work because the thyroid's already working. So the TSH is not a thyroid hormone, it's a pituitary hormone. So when you have a lab test and you measure TSH, which people do to screen people for thyroid conditions, that's the one that's, if it's low, that means your thyroid is high. So it's the opposite of what you think.
So the skinny person that seems to be able to eat everything, may have an very active thyroid?
It's usually they have a normal thyroid. That's just the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
Genetically, that's the way they are. They just burn calories faster. And that doesn't necessarily indicate that thyroid is overactive. It's normal for them, but they're more efficient in burning fuel.
Okay, so what we really want to know then, what does this have to do with diabetes? And we'll get to that after this break. Welcome back here on Coastal Daybreak here on the talk station FM 107 and AM 1240. So the crux of the question from the first segment, as we talk with Dr. Kechi and Lucas from Diabetes and Endocrinology Consultants, is why do diabetics need to pay attention to their thyroid?
Well, type 1, which is the autoimmune disease, about half of those people get thyroid disease because most of thyroid disease is autoimmune disease.
Huh, okay.
So you can have antibodies to your thyroid that damages it, either makes it not work or work too hard. So that's one reason. Type 2 people also get more thyroid disease for some reason. We don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime your sugar's fluctuating or you feel bad, if you have diabetes, you always should get your thyroid checked for that reason.
Mm. So is that should be a regular,
Probably
just
a
kind of like
yearly.
diabetic?
Yeah, I think probably a yearly check.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's on a lot of the common blood panels that people get yearly, but it's something that's unnoticed, and if you pick it up early, then you don't have any repercussions from having a low thyroid or a high thyroid.
Yeah, is there anything physically noticeable, like swelling or things like that?
Well, if we put the little thyroid here,
do your little model there.
we'll put the little thyroid on my neck.
All right.
So if you swallow, it goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't usually see it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see something that's U-shaped that goes up when you swallow, that's your thyroid, and you shouldn't see it because it's very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start seeing it, or you see asymmetry, one side's bigger than the other, you see little knots or something, or you feel something when you swallow, it could be because your thyroid's enlarged. And sometimes it's enlarged because it's trying to work and it can't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's enlarged because it's working too hard. Sometimes you have a structural abnormality in it. So that's one way of sort of looking at your neck and seeing. Usually if you tilt your neck back, you swallow something and look in the mirror, you can see your thyroid if it's abnormal.
Are there good treatments for it?
Yeah, there's a lot of good treatments, and we'll talk about that another time.
Okay. And you have coming up another diabetes school.
We have a diabetes school on Saturday, June the 4th at the New Bern Doubletree.
Mm-hmm.
Just access it by the website or call the office.
And you can go online too to find out about new studies. You've got some new studies coming.
We have
right?
some new studies for people on metformin only, or people on metformin and Victoza, people that have high triglycerides. We have a couple of type 1 studies for people. One is with insulin and one is with an oral agent with insulin. So we have a lot of variety of studies now.
Well, if studies with people with high triglycerides are not necessarily people who are diabetic, though.
Yeah, they have to have diabetes.
Oh, they do. Okay. All right.
They have to have diabetes and high triglycerides.
Okay. So again, these are the some of the studies, and you can access this information online, right?
Yes,
At
beachdoctor.com.
Beachdoctor.com. You can also call and find out more at 222-5700 if you want to find out more from Diabetes and Endocrinology Consultants. Again, online at beachdoctor.com. And we'll see you next week.